Hello everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Hyrule Chronicles. This is episode 67. I am Articulate T, the Game Master, and with me today, as always, I have Renji Vox being played by the lad.
It's coronation time!
I have Hikan Sio being played by Avrdal.
Hello.
I have Zayden Shari being played by Robopart.
I am so damn smooth right now.
And I have Max being played by Keistrith.
I'm glad I skipped the ball.
So, what happened last time, folks? Have we not chosen a person to do the intro?
Yes, we have. It was a backroom deal, but we have.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah, you said that you were going to take care of it.
No, I didn't say that.
You said you wanted to do it.
No, I didn't say that.
It's okay. It's okay. I winged this stuff anyway, so it's fine.
You said you had it done, and I said okay,
I
good,
said
because
I'd
I
already listened to it.
yes,
Order.
exactly.
Order. It's fine. It's okay.
It's fine. Anywho, last time we started off the session by buying a house. We went through and we explored, and it was great. It's a 3-story house, and there's a little side house on the side, and there's a tower, and there's a storage area. And when I was listening to the session, I had a whole bunch of ideas for them, and I'm probably not going to mention most of them because that's not what this session's going to be about.
We also
But,
haven't determined for certain whether or not it's haunted.
Exactly. And in order to get a bit of a discount on said house, we are going to help escort people to Artemark Dungeon, which are the Artemark area, because, well, they have to go fix that up, and we're heading that way to go chase our quarry anyway, or at least we assume so. There were festivities going on outside, so we made some last-minute errand things, stopped by some carpenters, which Hikan stunned into whatever they were feeling afterwards for getting frustrations with each other since they're twin siblings, by dropping a bunch of platinum on the counter. And Renji and Mara went to the castle around that time to get ready for the ball, which Zayden ended up joining Renji later, and the dragon lads, Maxwell and Max, ended up staying with Hikan as Hikan drugged them around the festivities as he is wont to do. While they were having a good time playing some games and trying fancy meats on sticks, Renji had a moment. Renji and Zayden decided to play a prank on Rickshaw, and Renji and Lady Risha ended up having a moment, for lack of a better word, in the library before Renji ended up returning to the ball. Where Zayden, as RoboPirate said earlier, was smooth AF.
Yeah.
And then at the end of all of that, the runner was sent to go gather all of us, and we were going to be on our way to the coronation after Hikan and Maxwell made it home safely.
Excellent. Yeah, so, we find ourselves returning to the action. Not too soon either. The procession in the ball are led through the castle towards a little kind of temple area on the castle grounds. This kind of just small sort of chapel place. When you say small, it's small by comparison to the rest of the castle. It is still large enough to provide a seat for every guest, with ones to spare almost. As you Hikan and Max, you kind of see this gathering move their way towards this temple as you're led there by the runner who came to grab you. And Renji and Zaiden, you are part of this procession. As you kind of are guided inside, everyone seems to be taking their seats by themselves. Where do you guys seat yourselves?
Do we not have assigned or sort of general requested area?
Not necessarily, no. Like it seems like the nobility, like the designated lords, are kind of put nearer the front. And then every other seat behind them is more or less just up for grabs.
Bit of a weird question, but is there a place to vogue near a door?
Yeah, there are places near a door. Like there is one main door that you guys have entered into, and there are a couple of other entrances off to the side, presumably where the clergymen are meant to kind of come and go. But there is
Okay.
Yeah.
A different question. How secure do things look?
Give me an insight check.
Everybody, or just Zaiden, since he's the one that asked?
Everybody that wants to.
12.
25.
Okay.
11.
Okay. You kind of have a look around. You feel that this is pretty secure. There's not much that can be said otherwise about this place. It has very sturdy walls. It's within the castle grounds, which by themselves are very impressive fortifications. Like the stained glass windows are particularly thin in here. So like it might be possible for someone to break through them, but it's not going to be as easy as if it was this one big stained glass window, sort of thing. So you feel that chances are, if there was to be any kind of attack, it probably isn't going to be happening. It's not going to be happening particularly big and ostentatious, sort of thing. Like, you get the feeling that if anybody was going to try and attack anybody within the grounds of Hyrule Castle, they're probably going to want to go for the subtle approach as opposed to the big, loud, ostentatious way. Because at the very least, the last time this happened, they were snuck in by boxers and then teleported out as their escape plan.
Okay. Do we know what the process of the coronation is?
You might have I don't think any of you would have been around when this happened the last time. I mean, Zaiden would have been alive when this happened the last time.
Probably nowhere near the town.
Yeah, probably nowhere near the town, so you're not exactly sure off the top of your head. I'd say, Renji, you probably know the process by which, just by virtue of being in the presence of the royal family for so long. You would, like, through kind of just overhearing it and stuff. The coronation is mostly a series of speeches and religious prayers, as they kind of move the title of king or queen to the next royal, by offering prayers to Hylia and the three golden goddesses. It's a long and, from the sounds of it, fairly boring process.
So
Yeah,
no ceremonial drinking of the definitely not poisoned wine.
You haven't heard
wine.
that wine was involved.
Okay.
I kind of like get ready for anything, and also how boring it most likely will be.
Max is gonna try and make sure that he is sat next to a wall and has one of his friends next to him, so that he doesn't have to sit by anyone he doesn't know.
Okay.
As long as it's near a door, Hikan will agree to this.
Okay.
Okay. That's fine. So you guys basically just take one of the back pews.
Yeah, unless like I immediately like I spot my father, then I'm going to stay with everyone here.
Okay, give me a perception check.
Okay. That
Does
is
Renji make it known that he wants to see his father?
that's a 24.
Okay. Ow. Just hit my elbow on the desk. You have a glance around. You think you see something like from a corner, but no, you can't seem to see your father anywhere. Even through the process of checking all the standard spots where you know a lot of the Sheikah bodyguards spend most of their time hiding in case anything happens.
Have I heard that like there's Sheikah coming from Kakariko village to like witness this?
Ordinarily, you would assume Zelish would have turned up to see the crowning of the next king. He doesn't appear to be present here.
I wasn't expecting him, no, but
You don't seem to see any other Sheikah present either, except your good selves.
surprising, but okay.
As you kind of situate yourselves down and people continue to talk amongst themselves, there is a brief moment where one of the priests from the front, who's wearing the vestments of Hylia, stands up and kind of stands behind the lectern and just kind of raises a hand, and after a moment everyone seems to settle down, and he says, "Welcome one and all to a momentous but also somewhat tragic occasion. Today we bequeath the crown unto a new leader. Of course, by nature of this, the predecessor had unfortunately met an untimely end. But we have hope in our hearts that the new king will be able to continue the duty of leading and protecting this kingdom and its people. If I could ask you all to rise as we welcome Prince Marius Edward Hyrule III. At which point the rest of the congregation stand and turn, and from the main doors, flanked by a pair of royal guards, and followed in by a series of robed holy men, is Marius. He is dressed in kind of this very regal attire of like purples and golds and reds, and he has like the big heavy fur trimmed cape, and you can probably tell with your passive insights, even Renji with your 12, you can tell that he does not look comfortable in the slightest. Of all the kind of bluster and ego that you have experienced from Marius before, he looks like a completely different person. He looks more like his little brother almost. And after a pause to kind of where he examines the the congregation before him, he takes in a breath and proceeds down the stairs, and he is followed in lockstep by the two guards and the holy men following behind. There is something of a small amount of music playing from the organ nearby. There is an organ situated like on a higher level that kind of plays this somewhat triumphant march, despite the fact that Marius does not look triumphant at all as he walks down the aisle and heads towards the ornate wooden throne at the other end of the room. Behind this procession appears to be Rufus, who is followed closely and visibly by Impa. Rufus is also dressed a little fancier than he usually is dressed, but nowhere near as nice as his brother. And Rufus, in turn, is led to one of the empty pews that has been reserved for him and his bodyguard. And notably, there is a blank seat next to him, where Sophitia and blank seats next to him where Sophitia and Nihilus would be sitting, were Sophitia still here. As Marius gets to the throne, he pauses a moment, and two of the holy men that are following him take the cloak from him, and he turns to sit down, and he takes one last nervous look around at the procession before him, before in turn the rest of the congregation begin to sit. The main door remains open for a time, as everyone kind of takes their places. The priest at the lectern turns and says, It is truly a divine aspect that royalty in the kingdom of Hyrule continue along this bloodline. Truly, the royal family of Hyrule are forever connected to the goddess Hylia, designated as the divinely appointed protectors of the realm. It is through this leadership that Alexander, before Marius, had led this kingdom with a firm hand and a kind heart. It is now that through the blessings of the divines that Marius will be granted ascension to the role of king. And through the open door comes basically the chaplains of Hyrule Castletown. You see Larson leading the group. He's not in his armor, but he's in a very fancy looking set of vestments himself, and he's followed very closely by all the other chaplains of all the other deities that are recognized in Hyrule Castletown. And they seem to be kind of carrying censers, which they swing softly from side to side as they enter into the room. And as they kind of form like a semicircle barrier in front of Marius. And after a pause, Larson's the first one to go. He raises his censer and he bows his head and says, "By the might of Din, blessed upon the new king." And then the next one goes along and says, "By the wisdom of Nehru, blessed upon the new king." And it goes on and on and on like this, down the line until each one of them have said their piece, before eventually they take their censers and kneel down before Marius. And because Marius is the view of Marius has kind of been blocked slightly, you couldn't really see anything while there was this kind of barrier of chaplains in front of him. But when you can see him again, the nervousness that's there seems to have amplified somewhat. After a moment, the priest at the lectern says, "The divines have blessed this new king, and so it is that I must ask of him." And the priest turns to Marius, who looks back at the priest and says, "Marius Edward Hyrule III, are you prepared to take this role as king?" And Marius kind of pauses a moment, and he looks back at the crowd as if assessing all of his options at this point in time. Like, he looks at Rufus, and then you can see just through the crowd, you see Rufus's little head just bob up and down as if giving a nod. And Marius kind of takes a deep breath, and he looks to the priest and says, "I do. Do you swear upon your soul and very blood to lead this nation, to protect this nation like your father did before you?" And there's another bit of hesitation before Marius nods again and says, "Yes, I am." And the priest kind of nods slightly and says, "Therefore we bequeath upon you these symbols of Ascension." And a couple of the holy men that followed him in come over. One of them presents him with a rod, and another one presents him with a short sword, a very lovely looking short sword. And he kind of holds each one, not in the particularly most convincing fashion. Then a couple more bring over the crown on this red velvet pillow, and the priest says, "And it is now that we lay upon you the crown of the kingdom of Hyrule. It is here that we bequeath upon you the title of king." They take the crown from the pillow and gently place it upon his head. It does not seem to fit, both in the metaphorical and physical sense. It seems to be a bit big for him. But after they kind of depart and leave Marius with all these different ornaments, the priest turns to the rest of the congregation and says, "I present to you King Marius Edward Hyrule III." As he says that, there is a brief musical cue from the organ above, as the rest of the congregation stands up to collectively bow before Marius, who looks still very uncomfortable. After a bow, they all applaud. And Marius himself, kind of, after the applause dies down, he stands up, says, "Thank you for your faith. I will endeavor to continue my father's mission, my father's vision of this kingdom. I know that there is a lot to do. I know that we have been experiencing some trying times as of late. But we must persevere. It is my hope that we will prosper and thrive in this endeavor. That we shall we shall prevail against any darkness that is sent our way. That we shall seek to make this kingdom a shining beacon of hope upon this world. Thank you." And he sits back down, and there's a bit of an applause. I'd say some of you probably, all of you probably have high enough perceptions at this point to hear kind of whispers among some of the nobility and other members gathered here. Some of them spreading doubts on the fact that Marius does not. Now, Marius is he's 16 and is also clearly shaken up by this whole ordeal. He doesn't look ready. Others are saying that they have high hopes that that Marius will really step up to the role. It's kind of a mixed reaction from the people in this congregation. But eventually the rest of the ceremony, despite the fact that Marius has now been crowned, the rest of the ceremony continues on for quite some time, maybe an hour or so, in which there's hymns sung, prayers done, speeches made by various individuals. Rufus has a short speech, bless his little heart, but it's mainly just to say that he believes in his brother, despite the fact that prior to this, Renji, you would be fully aware that Rufus did not really get along with his older siblings, but at this point Rufus still kind of has faith in Marius at this time. But after some time, the congregation is dismissed. They are offered the opportunity to return to the ballroom for further food and revelry. But as people begin to get up and leave, Imper, funnily enough, comes over to your little group and says, "So, how did you find it?"
It did its job, I suppose. We have a new king. Long may he reign.
I'm confused.
Hold on. Hikan's asleep.
Oh.
Wonderful.
Does Hikan snore when he sleeps?
I think in like for this moment, because he normally trances and stuff like that, he's sitting up and he's perfectly straight and everything like that, except that his head's tilted down, so there is a little bit of airflow going through the nostril, going around the septum, so it does sound like he's just on occasion.
Max
I was
just,
gonna
kind
think he got distracted, but he only got a 5, so he just fell asleep.
Max just kind of pokes him in the shoulder a bit.
Mhm. Oh, hi.
It's like Impa's just kind of standing there, arms folded, eyebrow raised. Is it? Well, yes, it's good that we have a new king.
Why are they making him do it? He clearly doesn't want to do it.
It's complicated.
It's hereditary.
It was
Means,
him or the smaller boy.
yeah.
But why though?
Sometimes we gotta do things we don't want to do, and
No, but why the him specifically? What so
Bloodline.
special?
Magic blood, I guess.
Right.
Yeah, it's
It's a very dark look in his eyes there.
Mhm.
Magic blood, you say?
Hmm.
Oh boy, I sure hope no one comes to give me any responsibilities.
But Impa nods a bit and says, I have to keep tending to Rufus. However, I have been asked to send you a message to head to the king's study when you are ready. After all, you have a meeting with the new king, and you need to discuss exactly what it is that you're going to be doing now.
Very well. What time? Does she tell us, or?
She ideally means go now.
Okay.
Yeah.
I give a curt bow, and then I look at the others. I believe we are expected. Shall we?
sure.
Sure.
And we head to the king's study.
Okay.
Anyone want some jerky? Hikan offers some of the Dodongo jerky on the way there.
I'm good, but thank you.
I ate more than I should have at the banquet.
Max will take one,
Yeah.
even though he has some of his own.
You head through the halls and eventually find yourself at the king's study. You are let inside by the two door guards, and as you enter in, it seems that the place has, at the very least, been cleared up significantly since the last time one of you saw it. It's clear that some of the furniture has been replaced, but otherwise this kind of nice cozy room on the side of the castle is, yeah, it's all right. There's at least a couple candles burning, so there's a kind of a dim light effect going on. But you are currently the only ones in there for at least the longest time. Did you just want to wait? Did you want to have a look around, or did you... Yeah.
Hikan will take a look around. He hasn't been here yet.
After
I
a few
also wish
minutes,
to look around in case of people that may or may not be there.
Okay.
after a few minutes, Maxwell asks, "Are we sure we're in the right place?"
We should be. I also use my Eldritch sight on it.
Okay.
On it, the entirety of the room.
Yeah, you do a quick sweep of the room. There's a number of books here that you haven't seen in the library before. Clearly the king would have his own private collection, so to speak. But there's also other things in there as well, like abacuses and other different counting things. Generally just stuff for study. There's an entire like vase, or like a big vase that seems to have scrolls, like rolled up scrolls of paper, big scrolls. You assume possibly being maps of some kind. And there's like a sextant and astrolabe on one area, but none of it seems inherently magical. And after checking various different corners, you're pretty sure that you guys are the only ones in the room.
Max is gonna go stare at those books.
After a few moments, Oh, after a few minutes,
Oh, no.
rather. Oh no.
Max might pick up one of the books.
Okay. You pick up this big hefty tome of like this hardback book of a light blue shade. It appears to be written in a language that you don't believe you understand.
That's fine.
It's okay, if you want to read it, you can borrow the telescope.
Just gonna hold it.
Yeah.
I look. Would I notice this?
I think we all notice this.
Okay.
Max is trying to hide it, but it's a very large book now.
I have the lowest
kind
crack
of
of the three of us.
looking at. It's just kind of looking at it.
Mm-hmm. I do lean in and softly say, that book better stay here once
What?
we leave.
What?
That book better stay here once we leave.
There's a moment where it looks like Max didn't realize he picked it up, and then he just puts it back on the shelf and is like, "Sorry."
No worries. Just please don't steal from the king.
I wasn't gonna steal anything.
You like? I know you like books.
It's just looking.
Fair enough.
Um,
There's no harm in that, I suppose.
Can't read it anyway. It's fine.
After.
Do I notice the language?
You do notice the language. It also seems to be in a language that you do not speak.
But would I recognize what language it is?
Give me an intelligence check. Just a general intelligence check.
General intelligence check. 21. I rolled a 19.
You think it's in a much, much older version of Hylian.
I would have trouble with that as well.
But yeah, after a few moments, the door to the study opens, and proceeding in appears to be Mara, followed by Alea, who is the bodyguard to Marius. Is probably the most heavily armored out of all of the Sheikah bodyguards, and she is in turn followed by Marius, who is then followed by Nihilus. And they all kind of move into the room. Nihilus closes the door behind them. Marius kind of bows his head to each of you before he moves over to the seat at the desk of the study, and he turns it around to face the group. Nihilus kind of looks to each one of you, looks to Renji for a long moment, and then kind of
I would give a very curt nod. And I'm not sure if he can read minds, but my thoughts at this moment are, this is business. Whatever comes after will come after.
Nihilus turns to the group and says, "So, we have things to discuss."
Indeed. I will probably have taken my bag of holding with me, and as such, I will produce the basically book that Mara and I have collated with everything that we've done regarding the Twilight Cartel.
He will gently take the book and peruse it over and says, "I have been given a number of pieces of information in regards to what is currently transpired. But I would like to hear it from all of you, just so I can get a full account, in case anything is missing, so to speak. You do not have to be detailed, I just need to know the gist of things since I had sent you on your little task."
Well, since our departure, we've headed to Sarkosa, where we found a group of thieves we also found one of the heads of the Twilight Cartel. And after figuring out his identity, we found him attempting to escape. We tried to apprehend him. We failed in doing so, but we did stop him. Then we went towards Drumlick Town, where we had heard that one of our earlier quarries were, whilst finding other leads.
Because there was a note that said that one of the other guys was on Snow Peak, so we were gonna head that way anyway. You know, kill two birds, and then like he just kind of sits there and thinks about the accuracy of that idiom and goes, "Get two targets at once."
We did not find very much there. What we did, well, that wasn't too much of importance regarding the Twilight Cartel itself. We went to Snowhead, where we did find that this was Lord Grastel, correct, DM?
Mm-hmm.
Correct.
Yeah, where Lord Grastel was performing blasphemous experiments upon a celestial. We again tried to apprehend Lord Grastel. Again, we did not succeed, but we did manage to stop him. Then, with knowledge that the third Lord of the Twilight Cartel was in Hyrule Castle Town, we returned here, and we found a Gerudo woman and two hags concocting some sort of potion underneath or wherever it is.
And stealing children.
And stealing children, yes. The chaplains will have more information on this specifically. But yes, those are the main things that we have been doing in the last few weeks.
I see. And like while he's listening, he's basically been spending most of his time either flicking through the book that you've handed him or looking at each and every one of you as you tell this story to ensure that all of you agree on the facts. And after you finish, he simply nods and closes the book. Before he passes it to Alea, who then in turn will place the book on the desk behind Marius. And Nihilus will say, "We will need to ensure that we are going to be proceeding at an appropriate pace and heading in the right direction. So, let us assess the facts at our current situation. As you are probably aware, Sophitia is still missing."
I do my very best to not look at Nihilus.
Was one of the things given to him the note that included who might have her right now?
I will have put that in the book, and I do say, as Marius pointed out, yes, within our report we have uncovered some missives. We believe that Princess Sophitia has been taken by a wizrobe called Torquin.
Torquin. Would any of you have any indication as to where this wizrobe might dwell?
Not anymore.
Very well. It's still more information than we had before. Some of my scouts had been doing their best to get this information, or information pertaining to the princess as best they could. I, personally, have heard rumors that she is seen in the east. In the east. While...
Beyond Death Mountain?
I do not know. Moving in that direction, at the very least. Some of my scouts, however, have noted that she has been seen in the south. So, within the next few moments, I will be heading to the east to see if I can locate the princess. The scouts, in turn, will be heading south in order to see if they can corroborate those rumors. But I shall dwell on the details of that later. For now, we need to move on to the next fact. The one who assassinated the king is also missing. What information?
We believe her identity to be that of Delilah Summerborn, sister to Cassandra Summerborn.
I see. I had only been briefed on Cassandra Summerborn's traitorous nature. Very recently, I believe that she has been working with the Twilight Cartel, yes?
Correct. Again, we have missives to corroborate that.
And where did she go?
We believe she went west.
I see.
To some of the holdouts of the rebels.
Okay, very well. He pauses for a while as he dwells on what to say next.
Somewhere in the midst of his pausing and considering, Sidon would ask, amongst your staff, or anyone you have access to, do your forces have the ability to cast the scrying spell?
He shakes his head. And the only one who would be capable of that would be Zelish. And Zelish is currently still within his home in Kakariko. He has not left since the king had passed away.
If you are able to provide a focus, I am capable of scrying.
What kind of focus would you need?
Either a crystal ball, a silver mirror, or a font filled with holy water.
Something to do in a moment, then.
I also wouldn't be able to do it today.
Of course.
Other question.
Mm-hmm.
Is there a way to talk faster? Because I know Renji wanted to send you letters, but those take a while sometimes.
I see.
And I know magic can do all sorts of really cool things.
I believe
yes,
there
the means of communications have been lacking.
I see. Well, in most instances, I would say perhaps it would be a good idea if we were to find some room in the budget for... What are they? Sending stones, I believe. I have no doubt that Uriel might have some of those items on his in his stock.
Perhaps it's a good idea to have to see if he can enchant them so as to facilitate communication between multiple points of origin.
It might be worth a shot, yes. We shall depending on how long most of this will take, we shall definitely look into matters of these sorts of matters over the next day or so. However, considering that the life of Princess Sophitia is still hanging in the balance right now, I believe that there is some level of urgency here.
Understood.
That brings
Perhaps
us...
my apologies.
No, carry on.
Perhaps we could send a runner to Uriel to see how quickly this can be facilitated.
Maybe a good idea. He kind of he takes a moment to poke his head out the door, to then speak to one of the guards in order to do his best to get them to say, like, to go get a runner and, like, explain the situation. And then after a moment he closes the door again and returns to the congregation. And he says, "Now, there is one last piece of information that I believe would be more pertinent to all of you." And he turns his head to Mara, and Mara, who's kind of been standing there and fiddling with a necklace for a bit, just kind of looks over and nods and says, "Oh, right. So, during the time that we've been doing this, we've also been looking into the cult that has made itself known.
Hikan looks down in shame.
We don't know too much about it. All we know is that it's called the Sovereign Hand. From what we gather, the cult itself seems to be one that preaches kind of a solace, I guess, or comfort outside of death, as if there's some kind of relief from it. It's a lot of pledging immortality and stuff. From what we've seen, with the exception of the ones that we have all encountered personally, many of the cultists aren't actually aggressive. And like as she's playing, she doesn't seem sure of it herself, but she says they seem to just be spreading the good word of not necessarily undeath, but ways to circumvent death. They refer to the Arbiter not as their savior figure, but as a just a religious leader, so to speak. But we haven't been able to track his movements down.
He was heading towards Drumnik when we left Zora's domain.
That was a couple of days ago. I'm not exactly sure what his intended goals after that would be. What we do know for a lot of time is that a lot of these members seem to be looking for women with red hair. We don't know why, though.
Are they looking for a woman with red hair, or just women with red hair in general?
We're not sure either. It gets a bit muddy depending on who we're speaking to. I think one would wonder whether or not they would be looking specifically for any of the Gerudo, but, well, they seem to be, the movement seems to be predominantly within Hyrule. So, and she kind of shrugs a bit. Nihilus kind of takes over and says, "For the moment, in regards to dealing with the cult, just deal with them as you have been at this point in time. Not necessarily aggressively, but since, after all, a lot of these people are probably going to be misguided and not inherently aggressive. But if they are in the company of actual undeath, then perhaps that is when you need to take a more aggressive stance. But that is not the core problem of this situation. And Mara nods and picks up again and says, through our research and looking back to some of the scrawlings that we found in that cave near the Echo of Hylia, we have found that it all seems to point to an island, quite a distance offshore. We believe that the crystal that the Bokoblin had, that may have come from that area. The cave paintings that we found in that mine seem to indicate as such. It's possible that wherever those fragments that we have had come from, they might be from that place. And Niles picks up and says, and that is where I am sending you next.
And for what exact purpose, if I may ask?
Investigative purposes. This island, as far as we can tell, has not come up on any other sea chart that we have in our possession. It is uncharted, but also charted. It's bizarre. But if it leads to any connection to this cult, and considering how powerful they have become in such a short amount of time of us knowing of their existence, I think it is best that we find out exactly what lies there. It might give us some more clues as to what their goal ultimately is.
But what about Miss Cassandra and Miss Delilah?
I understand the urgency in trying to find the King's assassin in this instance, and and he looks to Marius as he says this, and it's like, and we will be doing our best to see if we can find them. But this is something of a different nature. I'm not exactly sure that and he kind of pauses a moment as he tries to phrase it. Says, if they have fled anywhere to the west, it would probably be into the midst of the Civil War. And I do not think, as well-spoken as some of you are, or as powerful as some of you are, I'm not exactly sure that you are well-suited to be navigating an active war zone, as small as it might be. And given the nature of the assassin in question, they are likely very, very skilled. So I would be hesitant to send you into such an active place. At the very least, with the island in question, while it isn't unknown, that doesn't necessarily mean that from your observations you have to set foot on said island if you find it.
I have two questions about this. When was the decision made to send us to that island?
Essentially, the moment we collated the evidence that the island was there.
When exactly was that?
2 days ago.
2 days ago. And who else knows about this?
As far as anyone is concerned, it would be everyone in this room, as of right now, as well as a number of other scribes. That is all.
Do I know if Marius knows Sheikah?
You can't be sure. You know that they don't. Well, you know they try and teach the royals Sheikah for the sake of easier communication, because you might as well. But it's like you're not sure, because Marius was, prior to this, Marius was a pompous asshole. So you're not sure how much he paid attention in Sheikah class.
Um, wondering. Yeah, no, I can't do that. I will look at Nihilus and say that we may have an issue with information security.
If you would like to elaborate.
So I spoke with this is towards the DM. I spoke with the harvester yesterday, correct?
Uh-huh. Yes, he did.
Yesterday,
Mm-hmm.
someone suggested to me that we should soon be leaving the Hyrule country. I'm wondering how they might have known this.
Nihilus kind of stares at you for a long moment, and then simply asks, "And who was it that told you this?"
And in Sheikah I say, the harvester. And I add, in the same language, I'm working on breaking that which binds me. But I have not succeeded so far.
He's quiet for some time. Right. That is the case. I'm going to issue a strict information gathering situation here. Alea. And Alea kind of looks at him and says, "When we are done, I would like you to, if you have the time, organize something of a task force among the listed names I will provide you in regards to where this information might have leaked from." And Alea just simply nods. While I would not put it past the entity to which you are bound to have some other more esoteric methods by which it knows this, it is worthwhile making sure that there is not a mole.
Could also very well be that the means with which we are going to gather information, scrying, is being used against us as well.
That is possible. Very well. If that's the case, then we shall perform the necessary actions needed to make sure that the information that we are sharing is strictly confidential. In the meantime, do you have any further questions?
For the purposes of this council?
Yeah, he directs that question to everybody.
When were we supposed to be going towards the island?
As soon as possible.
Did you want me to attempt scrying first?
Only if you believe you will have the time.
Can certainly do it tomorrow morning. If you have a focus.
Considering the items that you request, I am sure that we will have the capability to find the means to allow you to scry.
I can do it only once, so who would you most want to find?
He thinks on it.
I think the princess, considering that she's in 2 places, supposedly, might help narrow it down.
In which case, a image of her, an item of her possessions or garments, and hair or nail would help significantly.
There's the painting of the royal family. Unless that has been stretched out already.
Very well. I shall do what I can in order to secure these, and will be with you in the morning. My sources tell me that you have acquired a home.
Yes.
Indeed. Still working on the name, but we are working on getting it furnished as well.
Then I shall meet you at your home at that point at some time in the morning in order to appropriately begin this scrying ritual. Any further questions before we disband this council?
No.
So we're going to an island, right?
Mm.
Are you gonna give us a way to get a boat?
You have 2 options. We can provide appropriate letters of introduction to a number of independent sailors in Sarkosa. However, we do not know how many of them know where to go. You might have to do some asking around in that regards. But many of them will be fully experienced sailors capable of traversing this sort of seas. Your alternative, albeit it might take a significant amount of time and not have 100% accuracy, is if you were to speak to Dr. Crane and see if he has any other alternative solutions. I believe he's been working on something for more direct, long-term travel that does not have to be interrupted by the land, so to speak.
Out of character, it's a catapult.
It's a cannon. It's definitely a cannon.
Both have precedence.
It's a catapult that can send 5 medium-sized creatures hundreds, possibly thousands of miles. That's a strong catapult.
Mm-hmm.
Just throw carrots up in the air and then we deploy gliders. And just glide there.
Yeah, but we do have to worry about our stamina.
It's fine.
Also, who has the folding boat? Because I believe we have one.
You have it.
I am not rowing that thing all the way to an island.
No, it has sails.
Do any of us know how to sail a boat?
No.
I wanted to learn, but we didn't have time.
You had time. You could have learned.
Oh my god.
Max has only
Ever
been on
since
a boat.
Sarkosa? No.
Max has only been on a boat twice, and neither of those times was the boat actually going anywhere.
Poseidon doesn't need boats.
Back to the game. Hikan's excited to try the new thing.
Yeah,
But he's
that's
not
fair.
gonna say anything about it. It's just like, ooh, shiny new toy? What? So he will look towards the rest of the party, for especially the people who are probably a bit more less distracted than he is, for guidance.
If we are going to go by boat, then we need a experienced sailor. And I mean, asking Lord Dr. Crane would not hurt. Those, I do believe that we have a boat. So we have a ship. It has a sail, I've checked.
Just the one sail.
Yes, just a one sail.
Right.
It is not a very fast ship, I believe.
Well, it is
Well,
more than nothing.
There's our Goron buddy who might know some sailors that we met over there if he's in town. And then there's what was it? Was it Zephyr's favor? I think it but the Zora, because we got him his job back.
That's true.
So we do have other things if it doesn't work.
Very well. Marius, kind of, who's been sitting there listening to all of this, and kind of been fairly complacent, not saying anything. Kind of just raises a hand briefly, and excuse me.
Long day.
Yeah, kinda. But it's all right. He raises a hand briefly and says, I do hope that we manage to find and get to the bottom of all of this. I'm not exactly well versed in situations like this. But I will do what I can in order to provide aid. I will certainly make sure that you have letters of recommendation from me. They will certainly carry a significant amount of weight. It would be best, even if you were not able to find specifically a sailor, if you had some form of navigator, someone who at least knew the area. I imagine, to some extent, that if the island does exist but is not on any kind of chart, you may best be looking for not necessarily a merchant, but more of an explorer.
That sounds logical, yes.
Mara will say, as said, we don't know exactly where it is, but we definitely know it is out there. It might take weeks by ship to get there, but so we'll have to make sure that we are prepared for that long of a journey. I'll make sure to do some kind of inventory before we leave. Depending on whether or not we do go to Sarkoza or if we are intending on speaking to Dr. Crane. And Nihilus gives a bit of a nod and says, very well. If that is the case, then we are settled to an extent. While you head to the island, I will head to whatever location we seem to find if and when we do some scrying, he says, giving a nod to Zayden. And in the meantime, just to be sure, the scouts that I intended to send south will continue their journey southward. Are we all clear?
I believe so.
Very well. I will await the runner and speak to Uriel myself in regards to sending stones, but for now, do what it is that you need to do for the rest of the evening, and I shall see you on the morrow. And Nihilus bows his head to the king and gives a nod to the rest of you, and then he makes his way out. The door closes behind him. Mara just kind of heaves a sigh. It's like, I should probably make sure that everything is up and ready to go. I will see you guys back at the house, I guess, unless it's not furnished yet. In which case, I guess I'll see you guys tomorrow. She turns to Marius and does a courtesy and says, "Your Majesty," and makes her way out.
Mara?
Yeah?
I'm not too good with numbers, so if you could get like food supply lists on there too for the resources, I would be grateful. I could pick it up in the morning.
Oh, of course. I'll do
Thank
what
you.
I can. No worries.
Thank you.
And she continues her way out. And the door closes behind her. And Marius just kind of, like, at that point in time, just, like, decompresses briefly. Just kind of just...
Feel better?
I don't know.
That's fair.
I will be... I don't know. I think I need some rest. Thank you again for all of your hard work, all of you, and I will have those letters written for you before you head off, depending on what you intend to do. But in the meantime, I think I just need a little bit of rest after today.
Sure.
Understandable.
Oh, thank you. Have a pleasant evening, all of you. And
You as well, Your Highness.
He stands up. He puts the desk chair back under the desk and will be escorted out of the room by Alea. Do you guys have anything specific you wanted to do before you retired for the evening yourselves?
No.
Since Hikan's going to go shopping in the morning, no.
The moment we get out of the room, I like facepalm and say, "I said Your Highness instead of Your Majesty." Oh man, good going.
What's the difference?
Your Highness is Prince, Your Majesty is King.
I'm sure it's an adjustment for everybody.
I don't know.
Why is
Given
it
how Marius is, that's going to bite me in the ass.
Why is it different words?
Different titles, they mean things in castles.
Hmm.
I really don't think he noticed, Renji.
Well, if he is as tired as he says he is, then maybe not.
And despite what we heard about him and what you've told us about him, he doesn't seem... What's the word? Uptight? A jerk? I don't know. I've met jerks. It doesn't seem like that to me. At least not right now.
Not right now. Yeah, he's under a lot of stress right now.
Okay. Should we go see if we can get Maxwell and stay a night at the inn then, so that way we have beds for people that use them?
Good idea.
Okay. So you make your way out of Hyrule Castle. You go and find Maxwell, who's kind of just been kind of busying himself as best he can in the house, which has nothing in it. And you head to the Royal Hylian Inn, and you find yourselves some appropriate rooms, and you have a restful night, thankfully, or as restful as it can be for certain people.
Okay, so a few things. Hikan is going to ask Renji the stuff about Lady Risha. Is she okay, kind of thing.
Okay.
On the way to the Hylian Inn, so.
Okay.
Oh, Range is going to be very uncomfortable.
Did she seem okay, or?
As okay as can be expected, I suppose.
Because, I know some things are hard, and we didn't go, and kind of feel bad about how we handled that whole thing, but.
Yeah. Me too. If you want, you can roll an insight check or something.
Thank you. 26.
Oof. Something happened.
She's not doing so good, is she?
I think she has a lot to think about. And maybe I gave her the wrong impression. I don't know.
Okay. I think I have an idea. And as we're walking, I approach Max, because does Max have his haversack?
Yeah.
Okay. So Hikan will let you know that he's reaching into the haversack to start grabbing foodstuffs, and he grabs some like some meats, and he puts it in his own bag, and he grabs some carrots and potatoes and all sorts of different hearty things, and then he Zayden?
Yes?
If you do your thing tonight, could you bring me some good berries back, please?
Okay.
Like a hand, like 2 handfuls, and he cups his hands together like this much. And yeah.
Do you want the ones I have right now?
I mean, if you want to give them to me right now, that's cool, but I know sometimes you like to go out in the middle of the night and help people.
He does that in the mornings, not the middle of the night.
Oh. Is it the mornings? Okay.
Why would he go get people food when they're sleeping?
It's not meant to be something hidden and ashamed of.
That's not what I'm saying. It's like a long rest spell slots.
Yeah, you use your spell slots, you have your long rest, and then you have a bag full of good berries in the morning to share out.
Okay, well then yeah, if I could get a couple of handfuls now, that'd be cool.
I shall provide some amount of good berries.
Okay.
And Hikan, when they get to the Royal Hylian Inn, is going to oh heck, what's the word? He's going to since it'll be the middle of the night, he's going to ask if he can requisition their kitchen.
Okay.
And he's going to make a hearty goodberry stew.
Ooh.
Very
nice.
Mm-hmm. Some of which he will portion out for the snacks after the long rest for the chef things. That way everyone can get their temporary HP.
Okay.
And the rest in the morning, he is going to carry in a pot. He's going to take some time doing it. He's going to carry in a pot, but halfway there realize that he probably made a mistake carrying the entire goddamn pot to Lady Risha's house.
Okay.
That is Hikan's plan for the morning.
Okay. That seems
He
like
will. He will be so he will be trancing in the kitchen instead of doing that to keep an eye on that, so he can go there straight in the morning.
Okay. That's fine. Yeah. Give me a give me a Cook's Tools rules based off of wisdom.
Alrighty, I'm gonna roll
Because-
survival because I'm proficient in Cook's Tools.
From the sounds of it, you're making soul food. So it's yeah. Okay.
It's not the best.
Not the
but
best.
It's not bad.
Yeah. It's certainly edible. It's certainly a filling concoction that has that sweetness that comes with the good berries. Yeah. As the morning comes, you have your pot of stew, or you have your remaining pot of stew that the others might not have eaten just yet. You have and you have tasks that have been laid before you. As a new day dawns in Hyrule Castletown.
Are we going to travel to the coast via Artemark?
It's up to you. If you
Is
want,
that feasible?
it's certainly feasible. I'll put you guys back onto the world map. So, like, you wouldn't be following any kind of road after you leave Artemark, but it wouldn't be too difficult for you to, like, go to Artemark, complete your contract there. Like, you don't have to go back and get folks, because you've already had the discount on your house. So you escort the guys to Artemark, and then you would head to you would then probably either head straight north to meet the road and then go to Sarkoza, or you'd have to go through like Kingsward, which is a town that is currently involved in the remaining conflict to do with the Civil War, and then go as the crow flies from there to Sarkoza. It's really up to you how you want to do it.
I mean, you don't want to break my word, but also, like, how does Rest feel about that?
It's fine.
I'm okay with that.
Okay.
Get up through Kingsward and see if we see if we just happen upon our other target. He said we couldn't do it. Ha! No. But yeah, Nikon's cool with that.
Okay. So, so I know what Zaiden's doing in the morning after doing his charitable work in the slums, and I know what Hikan's doing in the morning. What about the other two? What are you two doing?
I'm hanging out with my brother.
Okay. Oh. Okay. Because he's likely going to be spending pretty much all of his time within Hyrule Castletown while you guys are gone. So that's a good idea.
Under the tutelage of Uriel.
Yep.
There's the worst day jobs.
Mm-hmm.
It's literally the most magical job in Hyrule Castletown.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Oh dear. And what is Renji doing this morning?
He definitely needs to have a chat with his dad.
Okay. So you're probably, I'm guessing you're probably going to be hanging out with Zayden for a bit while the scrying thing happens, maybe.
Yeah.
Okay. If that's the case, we will start with Hikan. Hikan, you have a pot.
There's one thing I wanted to do when Nyla showed up, actually, as well.
Okay, so yeah, I'm guessing you're probably going to be spending a lot of time at the house anyway. Yeah. So Hikan, you make your way from the Royal Hylian Inn through town northwards towards Lady Risha's estate.
Carrying a big pot of stew.
Yeah. As you round the corner, you see the estate before you. You see the two guards who are always positioned outside the front door. They kind of like keep a wary eye on you as you approach.
Hi. Is Lady Risha up?
One of them kind of looks at the other, and the other one says, "Yes, but it is rather early in the morning. We can certainly. Do you have an appointment at all?"
I do not. I was one of the people that's working with Renji Vox, and I know that she's been having a bit of a rough time. So I wanted to give her a gift and maybe give some of the people that make food in there some stuff. You know, make. And he kind of just gestures with the pot. Would you like to try some?
They kind of look to each other again, and says, "If you would be so kind as to wait here for a moment." He kind of pokes his head in the door and gestures to one of the servants who is probably busy cleaning the place, and says, "If you could go and inquire with Lady Risha to see if she is available at this point in time, thank you." And then closes the door again. And the other one is kind of looking at this pot of stew that you have. Says, "We'd love to try some, but I don't believe we have a spoon."
I do. And I reach into my pack and I pull out like a ladle kind of thing, because I stole, I think, her father's cooking set.
Oh dear.
Now that I think about it.
Why is this ladle embedded with our family crest?
Or no, I didn't. I bought a cook set in Sarkosa.
That's okay. That's all right. That's fine.
It would have been more amusing if it was the other one, but
I know
not.
you raided the pantry on Snow Peak Manor, but I didn't think you took the utensils.
I did not take the utensils. I needed utensils for our house. I did not take the utensils. I raided the pantry. That's what it was.
That's fine. So you hand him this ladle, and he kind of looks at it inquisitively and looks back to the other guard, who just kind of shrugs, and like
I guess this is one way of checking if it's poisoned.
Yeah. Just kind of like lifts it up to his lips, looks at you again, Hikan, and then just like, it's not bad. Just kind of hands the ladle over to the other guard, who then takes a sip himself and just, "It was pretty good. That is pretty good. Yes.
Thank you.
As they're kind of standing, kind of inspecting the inspecting the stew, the door opens again, and you see like Lady Risha standing in her usual attire, though she seems to have kind of like, her hair doesn't seem to be in like the best of done up as best as possible, and she kind of like squints a bit as she looks outside into the sunlight and says, "Oh, good evening, or morning, sorry."
It's okay. Time's weird for me too. I've been up for hours. But I heard that you I wanted to do something nice, since the last time that we talked wasn't exactly the best of situations, and I don't know how things have been going because I missed the ball the other day. but I figured that you guys could use this. And he gives her or thrusts the pot towards her, not aggressively, but, just kind of like here.
Just chucks the whole thing to her.
Yes, well...
I could carry it inside if you'd like.
Perhaps that would be for the best. Yes. Did you want to keep the? I mean, is it your pot? I mean, we could transfer it to another pot that's in the kitchen. I'm sorry. It's been a late morning.
It's okay. Tell you what, you guys use up the stuff in the pot. We do have a house now, so whenever a pot's empty, it can be delivered to the house.
Very well. Thank you. It's very kind of you.
You're welcome. And Hikan gives his big dopey smile and takes the pot inside to the kitchens.
Yeah. She kind of the servants kind of guide you the rest of the way. And as you kind of come back out, Lady Risha has not left the door. She's just kind of like standing by it, and as you make your way out, she bows her head and says, "Thank you for your generosity. I apologize that I'm not in any better state to greet people at the moment."
It's okay. I know we had a bunch of stuff to do today, or I probably would have tried to come at a better time. But I wanted to make sure that you got this sooner rather than later.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I shall not impede you any further. I will have a lovely day, and yes, yes.
Could I incite her to get her general thing? Like I know that we're all both kind of doing our own thing there, but just to get a better insight to how she's feeling, similar to what Renji was doing last time.
Sure, go for it.
I am rolling really well on these.
Yeah.
24.
Incredibly well tonight. It seems, for the most part, that she's embarrassed. Like, noticeably so. There is definitely something that had happened the night before, but she's... so she's more trying to kind of distance herself from you, in a sense. Not for any particularly malicious reasons, just she doesn't see herself kind of... She's endeavoring to kind of distance, keep her distance from you in, like, not necessarily a physical way, but more of an emotional sense, I guess.
Right, okay. Hikan, not really understanding complexities of social cues such as that, will nod to Risha and go, I know it might be a bit awkward, all things considered, but if you need someone to talk to, at least if I'm in town, I'm more than willing to. It's been something I've been working on, so
She
if you
kind
need
of...
an ear or someone,
Yeah.
or favors or whatever.
She pauses a moment to consider that, and then just kind of gives a slow nod and says, I will consider it.
Okay.
Thank you. But I mean, I imagine that you have a lot of things to do, so I shall, again, not impede you any further. I have my own work that needs to be done.
Okay. Okay, well, you have a good rest of your day. Enjoy the food. And then Hikan turns, waves, and walks back towards the house.
Okay. Grand. The door kind of closes slowly behind you as you leave and make your way back to the house. Meanwhile, at the house, After Zayden, after you return from your morning charity work and sit down and kind of like inspect the house a bit as you wait for Nihilus, there is a knock at the door. And as you go and answer it, you do see Nihilus. He has what appears to be quite a few things kind of strapped to his back, held in one hand appears to be a crystal ball, roughly the size of a soccer ball. As he
Oh god, that would be heavy.
Yeah, he's doing his best. Like as you kind of answer the door,
I will quickly offer to help him with that.
Yeah.
For our European listeners, that's a football.
Yes. As you kind of help him with it, he brings it into what would be the dining room and kind of places it on the floor. It does come with its own stand, but he kind of sits down and says, "Right, I could not find any fingernails or hair at all, but
Not even on a brush.
not even on the brush. No, I think the servants out of habits clean everything a lot, and he kind of takes the stuff off of his back and provides you with the picture, which is a fairly sizable painted portrait of Surfitia, looking as regal as ever. The artwork is definitely as romanticized as most portraits are, and he also provides you with a couple of her personal belongings, such as a completely spotless hairbrush, and a hat and stuff like that. Just general things that have been taken from her possessions. And
are there hairs in the hat?
You inspect the hat for hairs. Give me a D100 roll.
8.
Okay. You find one hair in the hat.
Good enough, right?
It'll do.
Also, I'll be at the house as well, correct?
Yeah.
I'm there
Yes.
too.
With Nihilus arriving, I'll probably come down from my own room. Father, good to see you.
Hello, Renji.
Hello.
So,
Right. You were here, of course, for the scrying.
yes.
Where have you been?
Where have I been?
Yes.
All over Hyrule.
Oh, I understand. Pretty vague, though.
It is pretty vague. I apologize for that, but I have been to a lot of places, and I would very much like to tell those stories at some point, but right now there is business that needs to be done. And Nihilus kind of looks aside and then nods and says, "Whenever you are ready."
Okay, I believe the spell takes 10 minutes to do, so yeah. So Zayden will probably I'm trying to say if it'll be probably outside, underneath a tree.
Okay.
We'll begin casting the scrying spell, tapping into his power of nature, trying to peer through to the location of Surfitia.
Okay.
So her DC is, let's see, 17 at a base, Only got second hand, so it goes to 12. Have a picture and a possession, so 12 goes to 18. And if you count the hair, difficulty goes to 28.
Okay. Let's see. Before entering the spell. Okay. I'm just reading through the wording of it.
Yeah, so she makes the saving throw.
Oh no, it's not that bit.
Okay.
Yeah. So I'm pretty sure I have Sophitia's character sheet here. Yeah. There we go. Wisdom saving throw, right?
Yep.
Okay.
That's something.
That's something. Yeah.
That's a 1.
It's a beautiful natural one.
Uh-huh. Let's see. On a failed save, the spell creates an invisible sensor within 10 feet of the target. You can see and hear through the sensor as if you were there. The sensor moves with the target, remaining within 10 feet of it during the duration. A creature that can see invisible objects sees the sensor as a luminous orb about the size of your fist. So, from the reading of that paragraph, since you're targeting a person, I don't know whether or not it tells you exactly where she is. But
No,
you'll be able
so it
to...
wouldn't.
You get a third person camera of where they are.
Yeah.
So what you'd be able to get out of this is A, she's still alive. B, what are her surroundings like? C, since I can see and hear, can I hear something specific? Can I see sand, or can I hear the ocean, or etc. etc.
Okay.
Shame we don't have smell as well. That might be helpful.
Also,
Yeah.
do the rest of us see this as well? Because it appears
The
in the
way
ball,
it's
right?
worded, I think only I see it,
Okay.
Okay.
because it's as if I was there.
Okay. If that is the case, I would like if everybody except Zayden were to deafen and mute themselves for the moment while we have a chat about what he sees.
Ooh,
Things.
mean.
Goodbye.
How will we do the recap next time?
We'll just have to
Bye-bye.
listen to the thing.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So, I'm just going to put on some appropriate music so that I can scare the people who can't hear what we're talking about.
Scary things.
Scary things. Okay. So,
I did admit when it was the coronation, the little doodle of music was like, isn't that battle music?
oh no, it's the standard da 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 da. That's kind of become like the standard sort of, this is Hyrule Castle. Welcome to Hyrule Castle. And I can't find like my kingdom for a more kind of quiet, subtle one that I can play whenever you guys are in the castle. Because otherwise it's just too fast and it seems like some fighting should be happening. But anyway, so you situate yourself in your comfortable spot. You attune yourself with nature, and you open your mind to the magics of the spell. And after 10 minutes, you see
Sort of imagining like sitting cross-legged, back against a tree, heavy bowling ball crystal ball in between the legs.
Yeah. And you kind of lean back and focus and think and dwell on it slightly, and after a few moments, you there's just this kind of swirling mist of colors that replaces your vision, and after some time, suddenly everything changes to a much darker, denker place. You appear to be in what seems to be the corridor of what you think to be some kind of dungeon. There's very little light to speak of. There's like a singular candle on one of the walls that illuminates this place. Thankfully, because of your own dark vision, you can see a fair amount. But as you kind of think on it and dwell slightly, you look and you see what appears to be a young woman, 14 years old at best estimate. She's dressed in what seems to be a cloak with a hood that covers her face, and she seems to be kind of looking back and forth within this corridor. As she looks down in one direction, you can hear you can hear what seems to be like the buzzing of electricity upstairs, as well as the bubbling of some liquid in that same direction. You turn to your camera turns almost as you watch her kind of look down one corridor and then slowly begin to creep away in the opposite direction before trying to break into something of a sprint. Curiously, you look back in that direction as you see kind of plodding down the corridor appears to be another wizrobe, but they have a much more imposing silhouette compared to the wizrobes that you have met before. Even Teostro, the hermit in the cave, this wizrobe stands perfectly upright, and has a kind of permanent glare in their beady yellow eyes. Ruffled black feathers mixed with this kind of crimson pattern around their beak, and they seem to be dressed in kind of this apparel of dark colors, and instead of it being like a robe or any kind, it seems to be more or less like a very practical looking coat and attire and stuff like that. It kind of like stops in the doorway and looks past you for a moment to see against you, and he raises a hand, and you can make out the kind of gestures and speech patterns of a hold person spell. But as the magic leaves his fingers, there's a brief moment where it stops in the air and fizzles out. Someone's cast Counterspell. You look back in the direction where presumably Sophitia had run off to, but as she is just about to make her way out, she throws out a hand, and before her there is a massive explosion of flame, and through it she stumbles slightly from the backdraft before running through a newly created hole in a wall. Your camera is kind of dragged along with her as she does this, considering it has to stay within... Does it have to stay within 10 feet, or can you move it freely?
The sensor moves with the target remaining within 10 feet of it for the duration of the spell.
Okay. So you kind of watch her dive out of this wall, and you turn back just as you are about to leave line of sight of this wizrobe, who in frustration seems to follow. There's a brief flash in its eyes as you move out of line of sight. Sophitia in turn begins to run through these kind of craggy rock areas. You think it might be possibly in some kind of mountain range, at best guess. Either that, or it's just a very rocky area that this tower is in. And it is a tower. It's this very kind of, from the outside looking, decrepit looking wizard's tower with the pointed top. You look back to the hole where you see it, and you see the wizrobe poke its head out slowly, and with a gesture, your connection is cut off. You find yourself like blinking at a jolt back where you currently are in Hyrule Castle Town, with Nihilus and Renji and Max looking at you expectantly. And at that point, we're going to ask our buddies to join us back.
Can I just check what color was the rock?
The rock, kind of a lightish brownish color.
Okay then.
Okay.
Cast a spell that's meant to last 10 minutes. I barely get 1 minute of action.
Live!
Okay. So wait for Renji to come back as well.
Alright.
There we go. Might have decided it was a good time for a break.
That's okay. We'll be finishing up soon.
Yeah.
I was not expecting to get as I was like I've done it again. I prepared for like 2 sessions worth of content.
It's okay. We managed to find interruptions.
Hey, I'm gonna roleplay the shit out of everything I can, damn it.
Let's see. See if I can. I can't undeafen him. I can only mute him, and that's it.
Yeah.
So, damn.
Have to wait till he gets back.
Yeah.
Happens.
It happens.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you have a good vision quest?
Sorry about that.
That's
Hey,
okay. Welcome back.
I got to see some things.
So, from your perspective, all of you, you watch Zidane cast the spell, and then for a moment he kind of like leans back and he opens his eyes, and you can't see his pupils or iris; it's just white. He watches for a couple of moments before much shorter amount of time prior to the actual spell should end, so before the 10-minute mark, like only a couple of minutes into it, he seems to jolt back a bit as his eyes return to normal, and he looks at the rest of you.
You good?
I'm okay. I think he dispelled the scrying.
Who did?
Ye?
Oh, the wizrobe. I should begin at the beginning.
Maybe a good idea.
Yes, you should.
So, when I first cast the spell, I was looking upon a dark and dank corridor with only a single candle of illumination. I spied what must be Sophia, given the target of the spell. She wasn't chained up or anything, she was dressed in a cloak. She seemed a bit scared and panicked looking around. I could hear the buzzing of electricity and the bubbling of liquid above. She started creeping, but then moved into a sprint as the wizrobe came into view. He is quite a tall, imposing silhouette, with beady yellow eyes, ruffled black feathers, and a crimson pattern around his beak. He attempted to cast what I believed was Hold Person on Sophie, but somebody counterspelled it. And then there was a massive explosion of flame and a hole burst in the wall. She ran out through the hole, revealing a rocky area with kind of lightish brown rock possibly in some kind of mountain range. And looking back, there was a kind of decrepit wizard's tower with a pointed top. And then he countered my scrying. I'm uncertain if she managed to get further away or not.
I hope she did. No one deserves to be stuck with him.
The mountain range, you say?
Zidane will give the best description he can of the rocky area he saw. And also the position of the sun at the time that he looked up.
Okay.
Because that would be quite useful to determining kind of north, east, west, and that kind of stuff.
He dwells on it a bit more as he thinks on it, and it says, That sounds something similar to possibly the Death Mountain range. That definitely sounds east, so that is certainly a good direction to go.
Max is gonna reach into his pocket and hand Nihilus the little map he drew of the few floors he remembers of Torquin's tower.
Mm-hmm.
And just hand it to him and say, these are the few floors of his tower I remember best if he did manage to recapture.
Thank you. It is incredibly helpful. This is a great deal more information than I was ever expecting to get within the small amount of time. Thank you.
You are quite welcome.
I should make haste in preparations.
If you get a chance to kill him, don't hesitate.
You
Right.
seem to be fairly powerful spellcaster, so I'm sure you know how to deal with that sort.
How do you deal with that sort? Hikan asks eagerly as he kind of comes in.
Quickly, without letting them speak, usually.
Mhm.
Standard protocol when it comes to dealing with most spellcasters is to blind them, gag them, and tie their hands.
Okay.
But yes, thank you. I'm sorry I could not stay longer, but I need to capitalize on this as best I can. You may keep the crystal ball. Knowing someone who is capable of scrying is probably best to have it in your possession as it is. I will need to take back the painting and the other items, though.
That's fine. I think it gets easier since I've done it once. I don't know whether it goes from first hand to have met the target in effect.
Yeah. Yeah, it's alright. We'll figure that out at some point. But yeah, Nihilus kind of quickly bows to each of you, wishes you luck on your journey, and then makes haste to basically begin his journey east ASAP. But yeah, kind of leaving you with this colossal crystal ball, and
Before, like, as he leaves, I want to kind of catch up to him in the courtyard.
mhm.
And do you want to know why I chose the pack that I'm in?
I have my theories, but I'm not exactly.
This. We don't even have a minute to talk. It's always duty. I understand the importance of it. I do. The last few weeks have been nothing but me trying to live up to expectations of you, of others, of myself as well. But I've also learned that things other than duty can be even more important. Friendship. Honor.
I do not.
I wish you a good hunt, Father. And I know you will do your duty. And I just turn.
He doesn't verbally respond. He just kind of looks at you as you turn away, and then shakes his head and continues going back to the castle. And on that note, I think what we shall do is we shall end the session there. So thank you very much, everybody, for tuning in. This has been Hyrule Chronicles, episode 67. I am Articulate T, the Game Master, and with me, as always, I have Renji Vox, being played by the Nether Lad.
It was an honor.
I have Hikan Sio, being played by Avrdal.
Bye-bye.
I have Zayden Shari, being played by Robopart.
Bye-bye.
I have Max, being played by Keistrith.
Bye.
And we'll see you guys next time. Bye now!
Bye.